All of the major muscle groups possess certain attributes that make them pleasing to the eye. Those attributes that seem to arrest the viewer's attention the most concern the complexity and multiformity of design. Consider, for example, the myriad individual muscles that go to form the back, which is the largest muscle area of the torso and, in Mike Mentzer's opinion, the most beautiful. The most complex muscular formation in the back is the trapezius, also known as the traps, which arises from the base of the skull and spreads out in a thick sheath to cover the shoulder blades and upper back and converges to a point in the middle of the back along the spine. Then there is the latissimus dorsi, or lats, which is simpler in design than the trapezius, but is bulkier and gives breadth to the back. As popular as the traps and lats are to most bodybuilders, it is actually the smaller, more intricate details of the upper back that are responsible for the back's interesting detail. How many are familiar with the teres, the rhomboids, and the infraspinatus? These are the little muscles that are so highly visible in a highly developed cut-up back, and which really catch the audience's attention. The pectorals are comprised of a pectoral major and minor, which appear together as a single structure with no interesting detail when they are in a relaxed state. Upon being flexed, however, the pecs will lift and divide into their two major portions, the major and minor, and splinter into thousands of fibrous striations across their entire width. It is this property of the pecs that causes them to appear as spectacular sunbursts of radiating striation that has made the most muscular, or crab pose, so popular with the aficionados. Certainly no serious bodybuilder with competitive aspirations would neglect the development of the torso. Where many young bodybuilders do err, however, is in neglecting to learn the anatomy of these structures. Ignorance of the fact that the pecs have an upper portion and a lower portion has led many to neglect developing one or the other of the two portions, usually the upper, resulting in an imbalanced, disproportionate development. Many think of the back as merely the lats. Those who train just the lats and never seriously work the traps and small muscles of the upper inner back may develop breadth, but they will lack the very important density and depth of development that makes the back such an interesting spectacle to behold. Of course, to lack development anywhere in these key areas of the torso won't help in competition either. Forming the core of the body, the judge's gaze will always go to the torso first. The following workout is designed to work the major muscles of the torso, as well as the smaller, more intricate ones. The exercises that are outlined are familiar standards that everyone except the ranked beginner will know. The pointers that are included with each exercise should prove helpful, but more important is the proper implementation of the principles that form the basis of the high-intensity training system of bodybuilding. The success you have with this routine will be contingent not so much on the exercises you employ as on the strict adherence to the scientific principles of effective muscle building. Chest exercise number 1, dumbbell flies. This is a great exercise for isolating the pecs and preserving the strength of the triceps for the incline press that is to follow immediately. Dumbbell flies can be performed on either a flat bench or slight incline bench. With the dumbbells together over the face, lower them to the sides with the elbows pulled back and out to the sides. Lower to a position just below the plane of the torso and no further, or you might injure the shoulder. Keeping the angle in the elbows consistent throughout the raising of the weight back to the top will stress the pecs, preserve the tricep strength, and reduce strain on the connective tissue in the crook of the elbow. It doesn't matter if the weights touch at the top, since at that point there is no resistance to fight against anyway. Move immediately upon completion of one set of 6 to 10 repetitions in this exercise, to the point of muscular failure, to the next exercise. Chest exercise number 2, incline presses. This is the compound exercise that will call into play the fresh strength of the triceps to aid in working the pecs, which were pre-fatigued by the flies. Since the pecs will be exhausted from the flies, you won't be able to use as much weight in this exercise as usual. With a shoulder-width grip, lower the bar to the neck slowly, with the elbows pointed directly out to the side. It is the position of the elbows, more than the hand spacing, that places the greatest stress on the pecs. A common training mistake is to do this exercise with a wide hand spacing, with the idea that this stretches the pecs more. Actually, just the opposite is true. A closer hand spacing causes the pecs to stretch and work over a greater range of motion. As proof, witness how little the humerus or upper arm, which is the insertion point for the pecs, moves in a wide grip incline or regular bench press. Since the function of the pecs is to bring the upper arm into and across the midline of the torso, the elbows must be held out to the sides so the pecs can perform their function in this exercise. Perform one set of 1 to 3 repetitions until failure. After a brief rest, we will move on to training the back muscles. Exercise number 1 will be the straight arm lat machine pull down. This is one of the few exercises that can be done for the lats without involving the biceps. This will be the isolation exercise used in the isolation compound cycle. The lat machine bar should be over your head and slightly in front of you so that you will have to pull it in towards your body. With a shoulder width grip, pull the arms into the thighs, keeping them almost perfectly straight. The idea is to save the strength of your biceps, so it is imperative that you keep the arms straight. Hold the bar at thigh level for a distinct pause before allowing the bar to return slowly to the top overhead position. Watch how sore your abs and serratus get from this great exercise, in addition to the lats. Move immediately upon completion of one set of 6 to 10 repetitions to the point of muscular failure to the next exercise. Palms up pull downs. With the same lat machine used in the straight arm pull down, change your grip immediately upon adding weight and continue with the palms up underhand pull downs. The underhand grip is used because it places the biceps into their strongest position. Most bodybuilders use the palms down overhead grip, which places the biceps in a weak position, limiting the degree to which you can work your back. Another mistake made by bodybuilders is using the wide grip in the pull down and in chinning movements. Rather than stretch the lats, which is the logic behind using the wide grip actually reduces the stretch, or the range of motion over which the lats contract. Place your upper arm up by your head and feel how much the lats are stretched, and then lower it to the side, as in a wide grip position, and you'll see that the stretch is greatly diminished. Pull the bar from overhead into the chest, around the nipple area. Hold for a pause, and return slowly to the top. Perform one set of 6 to 10 repetitions until failure. Back exercise number 3, deadlifts. This is the most stressful exercise of the program, for it involves the most muscles. The considerable stresses involved make the deadlift the most productive exercise of all. The best way to visualize the proper performance of the deadlift is to imagine it as a combination of a deep knee bend and toe touch. Start with the barbell rolled back flush against the shins. Then grasp it with a slightly wider than shoulder width grip. You can use a regular grip, or if the weight is really heavy, use an over-under grip, in which one palm faces forward and the other backward for greater strength. Bend down in such a manner that your shoulders are higher than your hips or buttocks, and most importantly, keep your back flat and your head up. With arms perfectly straight and no jerking or pulling, stand up with the bar until your body is perpendicular to the ground. There is no good reason to arch backwards at the top. Upon reaching the top, pause briefly and lower under control to the floor in the same manner as you lifted, back flat and head up. Once the barbell is on the floor, reassume the proper form, reset psychologically, take a deep breath, and repeat. This exercise works every muscle on the back side of the body, from the calves to the leg biceps, the gluteus, hips, spinal erectors, latissimus, deltoids, arms, really, every muscle of the body. Mike once said if he could only choose one exercise, it would be deadlifts, because, again, it is the most intense or demanding, and therefore the most productive. It is very stimulating not just for the muscles, but for all of the physiological subsystems, including the cardiovascular system. Perform one set of 6 to 10 repetitions until failure. Warming up. Make sure that you spend some time warming the muscles to be worked. However, it is not necessary to stretch the muscles, perform aerobic work, or engage in any more exercise than is minimally required to limber up and increase the blood flow to the specific muscles you're working that day. Using the deadlift as an example, if you're able to handle 165 pounds for 7 reps on your working set, start your warm-up with 115 pounds for 7 to 10 easy reps to get the blood flowing into the area, and then one more set with 145 pounds for 2 or 3 reps to mentally prepare you for the heavier set to follow. Warm-up needs will vary among individuals according to age, existing condition, and of course, the temperature of the gym you work out in. Keep in mind, too, that the first few reps of this high-intensity, low-force program serve as a further warm-up. The guiding principle here is perform the minimal amount of exercise required to achieve an actual warm-up. Why only 1 set per exercise? Simply because 1 set has been established as being sufficient to stimulate muscle growth.
It's like when you throw the switch to turn on a light. Once you've thrown the switch, you're confident that the electrical mechanism is in motion. You don't stand there all day flipping the switch up and down, do you?
Moreover, each additional set represents an additional energy expenditure to recover from. The more sets you perform, the longer it takes to recover. Precision was a big thing with Mike, who believed in doing the precise amount of exercise necessary to do the job, as any more than that was unnecessary and represented needless time spent in the gym.